Okay, this is Colin Thompson interviewing Mr. Bob Coble on the 27th of January. To start with, could you tell me your full name and date of birth?
Bobby Lee Coble, January the 23rd, 1943.
And could you tell me what rank and what branch of the military you were in?
I was in the Army, and I was a E6 Spec 6 specialist.
Okay, a specialist. And what was your job while you were in the military?
Well, I went in as a machinist, and then when I came, I ended up as a civil affairs NCO, and then I became NCOIC of what they call a balloon platoon. All the rubber fuel bladders in Vietnam from 500 gallons to 55,000 gallons. When they get shot up, we would vulcanize the holes in the bad boy and put them back on duty.
So what were these bladders used for?
Fuel for tanks, jeeps, or just fuel bladders for each individual unit.
Okay. So how would mail delivery usually work when you were deployed?
Well, at first it was okay. And then I went there in 1967, and around November, December, and January along in there, January of 68, they had what they call Tet Offensive. It was a Lunar New Year offensive. They wiped out the 173rd Airborne right up the street from us, and it stopped for a while, but then it caught up. And as the Civil Affairs NCO, we were supposed to do background checks on Vietnamese workers that worked there, but there was no way. I mean, they didn't have no lights, they didn't have nothing. Matter of fact, they had a barber working in the compound of Vietnamese. They had an attack one night and went out it the next day, and he was laying out there dead. He was a North Vietnamese all the time. He was in our compound gathering information.
So how were they expecting you to be able to do these background checks?
I have no idea. They just never come up with any way of doing it. I mean, when you're in a country that has hardly any electricity or no refrigerator, no nothing, and it's just one of them things you run into in the military in a combat zone, I mean, you never know who's who.
So how often would the mail arrive before the disruption from the Tet Offensive?
Well, maybe some of it came along day by day, but then some of it might be a month before you get anything. And I'm a guy that's worked with orphanages. I always have. I would write home and get clothes sent there for this orphanage. It was about 5 miles down the road from where we were at, and it'd come every now and then. Sometimes it'd get lost, like whole baggage. When I left from there, all my whole baggage and everything, all my clothes and all, it got lost. And the only thing I had was what I had on. But they reissued when I got back to the States.
So what about after the Tet Offensive? How did it, you mentioned it disrupted it a lot.
Oh yeah, I mean, they had a place probably 15 or 20 acres wide, no trees or anything on it. And those guys came in a human waves across this big field. Everything you could think of was shooting at them, and they didn't none get across, but some of them got to the fence. They wiped out the 173rd Airborne over there. There was only a couple of people in that whole brigade left, and it's just when something like that happens, it stops everything. I mean, just they had no way of doing nothing. Buildings were wiped out. They blew up the ammunition dump. They just destroyed a whole bunch of stuff.
What was your unit?
I'm sorry?
What was your unit?
881 maintenance.
Okay. So, did you often get stuff sent from home?
Maybe once a month.
Once a month.
Yeah. And we just did the best we could. It's my personal opinion. Considering what was going on, I think it was pretty good. I think that every male in the United States ought to spend at least 6 months in a combat situation. He would appreciate America a lot more. I mean, it's I don't know how to explain it. This may or may not make sense. When I was in the military, I often wondered how I would react in a combat zone. Would I be a coward? Would I hide? What would I do? So I volunteered to go to Vietnam. Did I get scared? Yeah. Did I run? No. I'm just amazed at how it worked out. I mean, I'm glad I went, but I wouldn't want to do it again. And if I was a young man and they called me to go, I'd go, but I wouldn't volunteer again. It's how do you explain, like, dead bodies over here, dead bodies over there? It's it gets to where you're like immune to seeing these things. You don't it don't bother you as much as it did when I first got there. The day that I arrived and the plane landed and they took us to a unit, you drive by and you see them laying on a fence where they try to get into a compound or something. And you ever seen a helicopter firing miniguns out of the sky? At night, every fifth bullet is a tracer. It lights up. It looks like one steady stream of fire coming out of the sky. Today, I've been out of Vietnam 53 years or 54 years, something like that. A helicopter flies over this house, I wake up every time. I mean, it's just, I don't know how to describe it other than that. But, due to what was happening, the mail done, I guess you could say, pretty good.
Did you ever send anything home?
Just letters. They wouldn't let us send anything home.
How would sending letters work?
We had take them to the order room, and they'd take them up to wherever the mail thing was at.
Okay. Do you remember anything in particular getting or seeing other people get that arrived in the mail?
Well, other than the clothes that my family would gather up for the orphanage, not really. I mean, I get a letter once in a while and stuff like that. So, but other than these clothes for these kids, but considering the situation, I think the mail was excellent.
So the only thing that you got sent or asked to be sent was just clothes to help orphans?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Christmas 67, 68, I played Santa Claus to an orphanage. I mean, today, I still play Santa Claus to the schools, to the old folks home here in Ludwig, or anywhere they want me to do it, schools. I teach electrical classes to any kid in the FFA if they want to learn. If they give in as a goof off, I just let them go. But I do anything to help a child, anybody's child. It's I don't know. I tried to adopt a set of twins over there in Vietnam, a boy and a girl, but they wouldn't let me because I wasn't married. But you know, it's hard to explain some of the things that happen over there. You know, I mean, you could be like me and you sitting here talking, the next minute be bullets flying around. So, and it's just, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, you have to, I would say, actually be there to learn. You know, like I said, I appreciate the experience of it, but I wouldn't want to do it again. And like right now, I'm 100% VA. I've got sprayed with Agent Orange. I've had open heart surgery. I'm a big time diabetic, and I take about 15 pills a day. But you know, but the VA takes good care of me. The military takes good care of me. I mean, you know, I have no doctor bills and all that stuff. But it was amazing to see. You come from a modern country like this, and you go to a place like Vietnam, no air conditioning, very, very little lighting, electrical lighting, and kids, I don't know if I ought to say this on there or not, but young'uns, little young'uns, they had no money, no nothing. They become to you, American GI. You make love to my mama $5, and I mean that's got to be. It was devastating to hear a child say that about their parents. You know, they worked in compounds and done what they could. They'd do laundry or whatever for $5 a day back then, and it's just I don't know. It's just you have to experience it to know the feeling of it. It's not a good, if you care, it's not a good thing. Just like these kids around here, they have no idea what hardship those children over went through. Like in the orphanage, they'd put a baby in a wire basket. He'd go to the bathroom on the floor. They didn't put a diaper on him until he was old enough not to mess in them. He'd wash it out with a water hose, or however they could. But the American, a lot of Americans took advantage of those people. But they do that in every country they have a war in, because the people are so poor. You know, you see these ladies out there in a rice field and mud up to their knees with a baby strapped to their back, and all of a sudden somebody starts shooting across the field. You know, it's just, I don't know. My buddy he went into Saigon. I had a Vietnamese interpreter, and he went into Saigon, and all that came back was his boots. He shot the vehicle he was in and it exploded, and that was it. But I still feel that we got the best military in the world. If we just had some leaders nowadays.
So you mentioned that you'd occasionally send letters back and forth at home. Were there any particularly special ones that you remember?
Well, yeah, I'm not a person that back then would write a lot of letters. And my mom sent me one and it said, asked me how I was, blah, blah, asked a whole bunch of other stuff. And then said, you need any money? So I checked the money and sent the letter back. But it's just, there's nothing real special, just regular stuff that you receive every day. Oh, I got a letter from the draft board while I was over there. I'm serious. And I was already in the military. Yep.
Somebody forgot to tell them, apparently.
Yeah. But, it was an amazing trip.
So how did getting letters and stuff from home make you feel?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, you arrive in a country where there's a war going on. You know nobody, it's there. You just, there's a bunch of people around, but you don't have any kin people there. No friends there other than what you make while you're there. And to know that people back home care about you enough to write you a letter to see how you're doing and all this stuff it's a pretty good feeling. Every now and then we get pictures of what was going on back here at home, and that made you feel even better. But it's a trip most people wouldn't want to take again. Me and my stepdad was over there at the same time. Yeah, we wasn't in the same unit, but we was over there at the same time. You remember you might have heard about the chief of police that got killed here? Me and him was over there at the same time. Yeah. But it's, as far as the mail goes, I think under the circumstances, it was, I'd say, pretty good.
Do you remember anything in particular that you saw other people getting or something like that?
No, not really. Sometimes some people would get like what I call a care package, and somebody had already robbed it, things like that. It's like, well, when I started to come home, those kids in that orphanage made me a sailboat. They took a limb and made a sailboat. They used, for winches on it, they used sewing thread spools and made the winches to raise the sails up. Well, they lost it when I come back home. I had no clothes whatsoever. Like I said, I didn't have nothing to say what I had on. But that's the only bad part about the mail I knew about. And then again, it could have been the military that done it, not the, U.S. mail. Yeah.
How often would you say that things got lost, either to or from country?
Well, excuse me, not too often, I'd say. As far as my personal stuff, but I didn't receive a lot of stuff. Just a letter once in a while from back home, and other than that, it was good to go. They never sent me personally anything because I didn't ever ask for nothing. I was more concerned about those kids with no clothes, But then I found out later on that a lot of the stuff that I got wasn't going to the orphanage. They'd do something else with it. They'd sell it to somebody else, for money, all that stuff. And they would steal anything. Them Vietnamese would. And, I don't blame them. They didn't have nothing. Their idea of refrigeration, like a refrigerator, if they killed a goose, they'd hang it up by the neck out there trying to sell it to somebody. For a couple of days, it wasn't no good anyway. The weather over there was like, it rained 6 months out of the year, and the weather and heat would be like 120 degrees was pretty normal in the summertime. And it was, it was an unreal experience to me. So I don't know how to explain it. You know, it's just something you have to see.
So did you or people you know ever get packages from strangers?
No,
No?
no. You mean over there? No,
Yeah, not even from like churches sending stuff?
no.
Were you aware of that happening for anyone?
Well, like, okay, a lot of states got $300 bonus checks from their state to the individual. Georgia didn't send nothing. I mean, nothing. The only thing I got from the state of Georgia was that certificate out there on the wall. But that was after I came back, you know.
So some states sent money to deployed soldiers?
Yep, sure did. Sure enough. They call it a bonus check or something like that, you know.
Do you know anything else about that, or
I'm sorry?
do you know anything else about that, or just that it happened?
Just that it happened, and Georgia didn't send anything to. I think Georgia was the only state that I know of. All the rest that the guys that I knew got checks from like Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina, and all that. But not Georgia. But that's okay, you know. It's just one of them things.
So, do you think that the ability, because soldiers nowadays can just call home whenever they want or whenever they have the opportunity, do you think that is affecting sending things back and forth?
Well, I'm not sure. You know, like Afghanistan and all them places, they had the ability to call home once in a while. But I think that they shouldn't have called very, very often, because any signals that you can get, they can pick up and find out where you are. So, you know, they just, and nowadays with the modern electronics and all they got, they can send you a missile right to your cell phone. So I don't think they should really do that. But my son-in-law was stationed over there, and he called every now and then. Not very often, but every now and then. But I think my personal opinion, I think they should start the draft back. Most of these guys that I see walking the street that's going to live off of taxpayers like you should have the experience of a military training. It straightens up some people. Some people get worse, but you know. But I don't know. I think the military makes you a better person. Some people, not everybody. You know, it gives you a sense of being. But now I come from a family that you work for a living. You know, they start you out young guys. I've had a job all my life. I'm 79 years old right now, and I work 2 different jobs, and I got a small farm I keep up, and it's always done it, and I can't sit here in this house. The only reason I'm here right now is because I was waiting on you.
So, maybe not. This might not you might not necessarily know the answer to this, but in your experience, as the war went on, did less things arrive from home?
Yeah, I think an individual like me and you, if you was there, we get, especially when I was there, so much happened at the end of my tour. You know, like the Tet Offensive started, and then they just done different things, and you have more attacks and stuff, so you don't concentrating on riding home. You just concentrating on getting back home, you know. But like I say, for the male concern in a combat zone like that, I think it was great. I mean, it's like you just have to be careful of what you're doing with males coming around, you know, and and to get somebody bringing that stuff, you have to be really, really, really careful. So if you didn't get it, you know, just one of them things was a combat zone.
So if you were to make a package to send somebody today, what sort of things would you put inside it?
Like food products, you know, something that would last maybe 30 days, cookies or something, you know, that wouldn't spoil. Just stuff that they don't get in a place like that, you know. It just, I don't know, just anything that they could eat, or, you know, maybe something they could wear, underwear or something like that, you know, but just something that wouldn't go bad within a month or so.
Okay.
What's that beeping?
It's maybe a trash truck. I can't see anything.
Oh,
from
okay,
here.
that's
So is there anything on your mind that you wanted to talk about that maybe I haven't touched on yet?
No, not really. I mean, when I first came back from over there, and I've noticed a lot of people that was there came back, I drank an excessive amount for like a year or so, and the least little loud noise would just, it's unreal how it affects you. I mean, after 50-something years, a helicopter will still wake me up. That's I don't know how to explain it. Like this thing, bloop 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 bloop, you know, and it just I guess there was so many flying when they'd have an attack at night. Them things would come over and the attack was over in just a few minutes. But it didn't, I don't know, the helicopters are just, it's amazing how it affects me. But at least I'm still here to be affected, you know. And they have a lot of them fly over here from Fort Stewart. And when this EMS helicopter comes, it goes right down here to the city hall and lands down there. But other than that, you know, I thank God every day that I'm still here. And I think all young men should have some kind of experience in that thing. They would appreciate what we got here. I've been in 9 different foreign countries. I would not trade the United States for any country. I mean, that's just, you can't beat it. I mean, I know right now we're having some problems, but let's see. I love my country, but I hate what my government's doing to it right now. It's just not right. They're lining their pockets. I don't care who's in Washington, D.C. It be red, green, black, it don't make no difference. As long as they for the people of the United States and this country, not their own pockets. They work for us, but you couldn't tell them that. Other than that, I'm a happy camper.
Do you happen to remember the name, or if the orphanage that you were helping out had a name?
I have no idea. Most everything go there is like, you know, here today, gone tomorrow. You know, it's just, I don't even know if it excuse me. say that's what caused it. And she chose that field, because I had open heart surgery before. So that's what she does. She assists in open heart surgery and these pacemakers and all this junk.
How were you exposed to Agent Orange exactly?
Sir?
How were you exactly exposed to Agent Orange?
Well, they sprayed it everywhere in Vietnam. And where we was at, we was on the back side of Ben Hoa, and what they call on the road to Bearcat, was just way back in the jungle. And they sprayed the jungle to kill everything so you could see for miles. And it blowed back in our compound. For about 3 months in a row, they bombed a hill, a Maypalm, every morning for about 3 months. And they're so close to us, the heat from that Maypalm would make your clothes stand backwards on you. And there wasn't nothing up there but one stump. But there was a cave. The North Vietnamese had a cave down in it, and they want that Maypalm to go down in that hole. It was a bird wouldn't even fly over it. But they a bunch of guys that was in the same unit with me are affected by the Agent Orange. But it's like this. I mean, I hate it happened, but it's part of my life. It's something that I went through, so I'm not angry about it. I'm just, hate taking all them pills. But, I could have been like some of the others, not been able to get back, still, got killed, but I didn't. And I think God was with me, and he probably was with a bunch of other people too. And they were just at the wrong place at the right time. I fully believe that when your turn comes, that's it. So, but I love my country, no matter what.
Well, unless there's anything else that you wanted to talk about, that's all the questions I had.
I think that's it.
Well, thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed. There's one little bit of business.
I apologize for having started off so many times.
Life happens. It's just a thing, I understand. So if you wouldn't mind signing this is just a form saying that you agree that this interview can be put in the archive and be used for academic purposes. Here, right there. There's 2 copies, one for you, one for me.